My name's Brooke Farrell. I'm from the Gold Coast, Australia, and I'm a professional Muay Thai fighter. I started fighting just because I didn't really know if I could, and I really wanted to see if I could. So we moved out to Thailand more for Eddie to pursue his fighting career, and I'd always wanted to try it, but I just never had the confidence or thought that I could do it. So when we came out to Thailand, I trained for a couple of months, and I was like, oh, should I have a fight? And I knew deep down I wanted to. So I just jumped in and I did it, and it was the best feeling ever. So I wanted to kind of prove to myself that I could do something that I didn't think that I could before. So I just wanted to test myself and to prove to myself that I could do something like this. Because who I was before fighting, people would never believe that I would ever even have one fight, you know? I was pretty shy, really skinny girl. Wasn't into violence or whatever. I thought Muay Thai was about aggression and violence, and I was so the opposite. So yeah, learning Muay Thai, I don't know, I found I learnt more about it as a martial art instead of this aggressive sport, you know? So yeah, I just really wanted to test myself and prove to myself that I could do something like this, so far from who I was. So I started training pretty late, I guess, compared to a lot of people. I didn't grow up doing martial arts. I was a gymnast, and then I quit gymnastics when I was in high school. And then after high school, Eddie and I were just partying heaps, we weren't into fitness. A couple of years later, we found fitness. Eddie started, we both started fitness at the same time, and I was more into weightlifting, and Eddie found kickboxing and boxing. And it wasn't until I was about maybe 22 I tried it for the first time, and I absolutely hated it. I hated training Muay Thai or kickboxing. I felt so intimidated in the gym, and I felt like I was really shit at it. I felt like everybody was laughing at me because I was shit at it. So Eddie would have to drag me to training, and I didn't want to go because I just felt so intimidated at the gym. So Eddie spent some one-on-one time with me, teaching me movements to help me feel more confident. And then as I started getting better at the movements, that's when I started to really love it. So I started to enjoy pad work, for fitness a little bit more. And I trained for about a year with Eddie before we moved to Thailand. And then I had my first sparring session in Thailand, and that's when I thought, okay, maybe I can try and have a fight. I started seeing little progressions, and then I wanted to push myself in the ring to see how I would react in a combat environment, you know? Eddie's my husband. We met in 2008 when we were just teenagers, and we traveled around Australia together. We found fitness together, and we actually opened up a little studio gym on the Gold Coast, where we did kickboxing fitness and CrossFit style training. And then we took our group of members to Thailand for a training holiday, and that's when we met a couple of people that had been living here fighting, and we were oh shit, that's so cool to have that freedom and to be living this lifestyle. Couldn't get that little seed out of our head, so a couple of months later we sold all of our shit in Australia and then moved out here. So yeah, we've been together since 2008, and we married about what's the year? 5 years ago. Yeah. Yeah. I don't know, I feel like Muay Thai has changed so much and developed, you know? So maybe today they're a little bit more technical, or I don't know even. I guess that from back then is where all these styles came from too, you know? Each fighter, that's how they develop their style. Even now, Muay Khao fighters, they look back at Pet Boonchu as inspiration, you know? So, and even now, Muay Mutt style, punch and low kick, they look at saenchai and how he fought back then, or yeah, I don't know. I think they get a lot of inspiration from back then, and they've just developed that same style now. It's just a little different. I don't know, I think all champions are amazing. All Muay Thai fighters are amazing. Like, to watch style from back then and watch style from now, like, you can pick so much from both.
But would you say the gold
Oh, I don't know.
than you? Yeah.
It's so hard. That's a hard question. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know. I can't say. I don't know. Muay Thai is like really challenged me in like so many ways. Like, it's like, because before I started fighting, I was like, oh, I don't know if like fighting's for me, or, you know, but like, it's proven to me that anyone can do anything. Like, it's just all about your heart and what you put into it and what you believe too. Like, it's been such a crazy journey, but like, yeah, Muay Thai is all heart, you know, you really like leave it all in there, and yeah, you really push yourself to the limits. Like, it's not just about the fight either, it's just about the whole journey, like deciding to fight and then having fight camp, like going through it all with all your teammates, your trainers, like pushing past where you think your limit is. Like, you constantly push past that barrier all the time. So I think Muay Thai really changes you as a person, like for the better. You know, you learn so much about yourself and what you have inside. So when I first started, I just used to love to kick. I would only right kick, low kicks, high kicks, whatever. Only my right leg, I loved it so much. And if I couldn't use my right leg, I just felt like a spastic, like I didn't know how to put together everything. So then that forced me to get better at boxing. I had to learn how to clinch, because you can't just rely on one weapon in Muay Thai. So now I still love to kick. You'll see, like in my fights, I love to throw low kicks and I still love to throw high kicks. But now I think, I don't know, like a lot of the Thais are saying I'm Muay Mutt style, which is just boxing and low kicks. And I think that's pretty accurate. I like to box and I like to kick, so yeah. Thai fighters are much more experienced. Like, they've been doing it for a really, really long time. Like, if you get a Thai fighter and a Western fighter at the same age, the experience and the level is just like so different. Okay, maybe the level's the same, but you know, they've been doing it for a much more longer time. Like, they start when they're really young. And yeah, there's like some Westerners that start at such a young age as well, but here it's like a part of their life. Like, they don't go to school, they train Muay Thai. It's like a part of their childhood, you know, like really ingrained into their culture here. So I feel like they're much more experienced, and they do it because they need to earn money too. Like, they do it to support their family from a young age, whereas like Westerners, they more start like a hobby because they enjoy it. They enjoy the sport, they just do it for fun, and then maybe they end up fighting. And you know, for a long time, Westerners don't earn any money in the sport, like until they go pro or until they sign with a big promotion. But for Thai fighters, they get paid and they earn money from a young age because they go straight into pro fights. There's no such thing as amateur Muay Thai in Thailand. The only other difference, I think, is with like sports science and how it's developed. So like Muay Thai in Thailand and for Thais is very much traditional. So they still do the big long runs. They train the way that their grandparents trained, you know, so it's like stayed that same routine for a really long time. Whereas Westerners, yeah. Whereas Westerners, they include, you know, a lot of strength and conditioning. They do different, like they periodize their training programs, like really specifically, like they have so many different coaches coming in and programming their sessions, which I think is good. And I think that's changing now in Thailand too. Like you'll see a lot of different gyms now implementing different training routines, and especially now that big promotions like One Championship have come to Thailand and signed like a lot of Thai fighters. I think they're really opening up to like different methods of training now, just for performance. So I think my biggest mentor in the sport would have to be Eddie. He's the one who introduced me to Muay Thai, and he's the one that really encouraged and supported me to have my first fight. Like, he's believed in me from the very beginning, and he's the one that's always telling me that I can fight anyone, like really encouraging me to do my best in the sport. Now he's my coach as well, so he coached me through my last fight, and he knows me better than anyone else. And you know, his attitude towards the sport is really inspiring. Like, yeah, he's just like in life in general, he just has no limits. Like, he really thinks that anything's possible, and yeah, it's really inspiring to be around somebody like that. Yeah, so I'd been wanting to fight on one of these big promotions for a really long time. And yeah, when I got the offer during COVID, I was so excited because I'm pretty sure they were the first promotion to be back in Thailand after COVID hit. Yeah, so I was really excited for the opportunity. I'd fought already like a couple of the girl fighters that have signed to one, so I was excited for like potential rematches. And yeah, obviously like my first fight in one was not great. It wasn't a good experience for me, but yeah, it taught me a lot, and you can only grow from experiences like this. So of course, like, I'm grateful for everything. So like, of course, fighting, especially in those tiny gloves, like there's always a chance of getting a knockout. Like, you either get the knockout or you get knocked out. Like, that is always a risk that we take as fighters, you know, in any fight as well, because you can be knocked out from a bunch of different weapons in Muay Thai. Yeah, like, obviously you always hope that it's never gonna happen to you. And you never go into a fight thinking that that's a possibility. So yeah, it was really hard to, you know, accept that that's what happened, especially for my debut. But now, like, looking back, like, I didn't train during COVID. I didn't do any Muay Thai sparring or conditioning. I was running and I was doing weightlifting. So I think my body wasn't conditioned to taking shots. I only had 3 weeks of fight prep to prepare for that. So I just don't think it was long enough to get my body and my head conditioned to taking damage. So if I could do it again, I would, yeah, just have a longer camp and just stay active during COVID so that my body was conditioned. Also, I think my game plan was a little off as well. Like, I just went in wanting to bang straight away. I probably should have played it a little bit smarter, especially in the first round, and just stayed on the outside a little bit more, but Muay mat, I want to punch. Yeah. Yeah, so my journey's changed a lot. So in the beginning, like when we were in Australia, I'd never fought before. So my official, like my first goal was just to have that first fight and then decide if I liked it or I didn't like it and see if it was for me. I knew that there were other options in Thailand if I didn't want to fight. So yeah, like once my first fight was over, then I watched the video back and I just knew that I could do better. So for a long time, it was just do better. I just wanted to perform better in my fights and I knew I could. So I just kept going, and then it wasn't until maybe my 12th fight, I fought for my first like good title in Australia, and I fought against the #1 girl in Australia. We had a really, really close fight, and it was after that that I wanted to like really grow in the sport. So I had some goals, like I wanted to be an Australian champion, I wanted to fight for a WMC title, WBC title, and all of these things. Now that's changed again. So there's like everything, like in every sport, there's so many politics involved with rankings and who gets to fight for belts. So now my goal is just to keep fighting. I just want to keep improving. So it's gone back to my initial goal, really. It's just to keep growing as a fighter and as a human being. Yeah, and just see where it takes me. My daily routine, like I'll get up in the morning, come here for a run, train for 2 hours. If I'm in fight camp, I'll go home and relax. and then get ready for the afternoon session, come back to the gym at 4 o'clock, train for 2 hours again, go home, eat, sleep, and then repeat Monday to Saturday. Sunday I have a day off. If I'm in fight camp, I'll get a massage, do some recovery. If I'm not in fight camp, then I'll go to the beach or do something like that. But even if I'm not in fight camp, like I'm still at the gym twice a day, my training just changes. So in the mornings, maybe I'll just run and then just help with the class. And then in the afternoon, I'll still hit pads and do some strength training. How am I different? I don't know, like I guess maybe because Eddie and I came here together, but like people usually come here by themselves and stick it out for a while, but I think because we've had each other, we've been able to stick it out a little bit longer, and because we've got Sage. So we've had like the journey together, which has been very helpful because we've been able to support each other and like help each other through a lot more. But my style, yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like everybody's just so different, you know? Like there's no two fighters that are the same, really. I mean, maybe they have the same style, but they won't do that style the same. Yeah, I don't know what to answer first. Yeah, I have seen a massive difference between male and female fighters. It took me much longer to get taken seriously in the gym compared to Eddie or any other male fighter. I feel like I had to kind of prove myself a little bit more, and yeah, I feel like maybe I had to prove myself a little bit more, like especially to my coaches. You know, like I always wanted to be treated equally to the male fighters. I wanted to do the same training program as them, but it took a long time for anyone else to see that, you know. But like because I had Eddie, he really like encouraged me to be taken that way. Yeah, like at a couple of gyms, it was like worse than other gyms, you know. Like a lot of gyms, like some of the trainers would make really inappropriate comments to me, and I would have to like really say, look, I'm here to train Muay Thai, like let's just train Muay Thai. Like they wouldn't be saying these things to the male athletes. And yeah, I think it's just because like in Thailand, female fighters in general like haven't been taken seriously, you know, like we're not allowed over the ropes, we have to go under the ropes. For a long time, up until about a year ago, we weren't allowed to fight on TV. Yeah, we're still not allowed in like the big stadiums like Lumpini. So yeah, it's different. But I want to say it's changing, you know, like shows in Bangkok now. Some nights they have 3 female fights on national TV, which is amazing. There's so many female athletes that come here now with these shows, like helping promote them. I feel like that's going to encourage more and more females to come out here for camps. Because it always was. There was always so many females coming here to train, but they just weren't given the opportunities the same as the men. But now those opportunities are opening up, and yeah, it's looking good. It's getting better. Yeah, I mean, retirement is like scary because like I've dedicated so much of my life to just purely Muay Thai. Like we've been in Thailand now for nearly 6 years. So our routine and dedication and sacrifice to the sport has just been like intense. Like I feel like I have just had this all or nothing approach to Muay Thai. So to think about retirement and like all of a sudden stopping that is scary. So Eddie and I have spoken about this, like if there comes a time where we think we'll retire, we really need to make like a plan. So we'll always still be involved in the sport, like we'll continue coaching other fighters and going through the same thing, but more for them. I think we'll be involved in Muay Thai for a long time, just because it's been such a big part of our life. Yeah, and I guess, yeah, one day we'll have kids, so yeah, then that stage of life will happen, and yeah, I'm not sure when or yeah, I don't know. We haven't thought about retirement yet, but yeah, we have to have a plan for like when it happens, so that yeah, we don't like lose everything. Not lose, but just to kind of keep routine the same. Because it would be hard to let go of something like that's been such a massive part of your life, you know? Yeah, for sure. Like you see so many fighters that retire and then they come back.
Yeah.
And then they retire again and then they come back. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's like an addiction, you know? You can't just turn that off. Yes. Oh my God. Yes, I would love to see women compete in Lumpini and Raja. I think it'd be incredible. Like there's so many top level technical female fighters now. And you know, like that's what that style is there, the 5 rounds, technical fights, it's traditional. And I think there would be some amazing fighters if they open that up for women.
Why do you think they're not?
I think it's just their tradition. Like Thais are very traditional, and you know, just it's like, for example, like why can't female fighters go over the ropes? Like it's Thai tradition, you know. Why can't females fight in Lumpini? It's traditionally for men. Yeah. I think there comes a time where things need to evolve, you know. Like, well, you look at like when females weren't allowed to vote. Like there came a time where it had to evolve from there. So I don't know, I hope it changes. And I think the shows in Bangkok that are having females fight, I think that's like a really good step in the right direction.